everyone, and welcome to our series on run-on sentences. This presentation is going to look at identifying run-on sentences. So a run-on sentence is a sentence that combines two or more independent clauses without the proper conjunctions or punctuation. An independent clause is essentially a sentence. It has all of the requirements that a sentence has. So to be an independent clause, this group of words has to be able to be its own sentence and have a subject, a verb, and a complete thought. Here's an example. Students at Lackawanna love to come to the Writing Center. Whenever I am making sure a group of words is an independent clause or sentence, I first take out the prepositional phrases to help identify my subject and verb. So here you can see we have students as our subject, love as our verb, and that group of words can be a complete thought all on its own. What you want to be careful about is that last part, because when you add a word sometimes to a group of words that is otherwise a sentence, it can now become a fragment, or when combined with another independent clause, an introductory phrase, or otherwise known as a dependent clause. So sometimes by adding words like although, it makes it a fragment. If you read this out loud, it sounds like, although students at Lackawanna love to come to the Writing Center, and it makes the reader wonder, well, then what? There will be a lesson on fragments included as well for you to view in the Writing Center tutorials. So let's look at examples of run-on sentences. For one, there are two types of run-on sentences. One is called a fused sentence, and this is where words are combined. You combine two or more independent clauses or sentences without punctuation or the proper conjunction. The second type is called comma splices. This is when you split two or more independent clauses or sentences with just a comma. So here we have another example of an independent clause or sentence. It helps them improve their writing skills. We have the subject, it. We have the verb, helps improve. And it's a complete sentence because it's a complete thought. So when we combine our first example of an independent clause with our second example of an independent clause, it becomes a fused sentence when we don't have anything in between them. What we need to do is put something right here, and you can find those ways to combine sentences in some of our other tutorials. The second type of run-on sentence is called a comma splice. Here we have the first example, students at Lackawanna love to come to the Writing Center. And we have our second example, it helps improve their writing skills. We have determined that both of these are independent clauses that can stand on their own without being joined with another sentence. So a lot of times we think, okay, well, I'm going to split this up with a comma because I recognize that there needs to be a pause there. However, when you just separate these two independent clauses with a comma, it now becomes a different type of run-on sentence called a comma splice. The rule is you do not combine sentences or independent clauses with just a comma. You may see commas used between phrases and clauses other places, so please don't confuse that. You do use a comma to split up dependent clauses or fragments and independent clauses when the dependent clause comes first. Here we have an example, even though it is springtime. While we have a subject and verb, this is a fragment and an incomplete thought because of that first phrase, even though. Sometimes this is called dependent or subordinate clause. When we join it with a dependent clause, it feels like winter outside. It now it's joined with a complete thought sentence independent clause. In this situation, we can use a comma to combine it. So just to review, when you have an independent or main clause plus a comma plus another independent or main clause, that's called a comma splice. Another way to put that is a sentence, comma, plus sentence equals comma splice, which makes a run-on. When you have a dependent or subordinate clause plus a comma and then an independent or main clause, otherwise known as fragment plus comma plus sentence, that makes a complex sentence, which is a good way to write. So now I hope you have an understanding of what a run-on sentence is. Please check out some of the other videos to go over how to correct these run-on sentences. And feel free to browse the library or make an appointment at the Writing Center for any additional help. Take care.